Lily, you are hysterical in that outfit.
Oh my God, what is she, like a downhill racer?
She is.
Look at that outfit.
Skeleton, luge.
Happy Friday, Baylor College of Medicine and friends of Baylor. You can see Lily is ready for the Olympics. She's going to be on the dog luge. They just throw him into the thing and watch him slide down. There's no sled involved. Anyway, so my sister's been after me because she's had a series of like really insane questions, which I've refused to answer. But I finally decided we have to have a Q&A because we're building up a lot of questions. So some of them are very good from the readers, and then there's some really crazy ones from my sister. All right. So here's the first one. What is the response of states to the changes in U.S. childhood vaccine schedule? As you know, I've said many times, it was not the smartest move to change them all. So as of January 20th, 2026, 28 states, including D.C., have announced they will not follow what the CDC recommends, but instead they will keep relying on prior recommendations, state recommendations, and those from external entities. So these are the states that are rejecting what the CDC recommended. And of course, that has implications when the CDC starts making recommendations that make no sense. They have reached a new pandemic-era low in the trust of the CDC for vaccines. So this was a study that was done looking at it was a survey by the Kaiser Foundation looking at what people felt like was a trustworthy source of information. So 6 years ago, 85% of Americans trusted the CDC. Now less than half. I mean, that's pathetic. And it varies by vaccine. 82% of those who queried are confident in the safety of the polio vaccine. Thank goodness for that. But think about that. 82%. I mean, 18% are not. I mean, if 18% are exposing their kids to polio, this is insane. 81% are confident about MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella, but I mean, that's still 20% are not. You need to have 95% of the population vaccinated to prevent outbreaks. And it gets worse. 70% confidence in hepatitis, 65% in flu. We've had over 60 pediatric deaths, and you have 60% of the population is only 65% thinks that flu vaccines are safe. That's terrible. And less if you get down to COVID, 31% say they're not confident at all. That is a major problem in our country, and it is led by misinformation, and it's really a shame because it's putting people in jeopardy. All right. There's some really interesting things about the shingles vaccine, and I've gotten a lot of questions about this. So somebody wrote in, does the shingles vaccine actually affect aging? And this is really, really interesting because there is a recent study that actually has looked at a large population-based cohort study and found that it looks like shingles vaccine actually can slow aging for some reason. So this is a data set that came from the U.S. Health and Retirement. It's over 3,800 adults age 70 plus. It was followed since 2016. And what it showed was that shingles vaccination was significantly associated with lower inflammation scores, lower genetic evidences of aging, and lower composite biologic aging scores. So it was most pronounced within 3 years of vaccination, but it persisted even beyond that. So another reason that we're learning that some vaccines, like the shingles vaccine, makes it so you don't get shingles, but it has other effects, reducing inflammatory responses that contribute to rapid aging. So that was really cool. And there's there have been 6 papers in the last few years that have said specifically that shingles vaccine probably lowers your risk for dementia. So this is a paper published in Cell, and it showed that the vaccine not only helped prevent or delay cognitive impairment, but also slow the course of people who had dementia. So it impairs development, but in those who have dementia, it slows their progression. So this was studies from Wales, Australia, Canada, and the U.S. They're all about the same in that it's about a 20% reduction in dementia diagnosis after getting shingles vaccine. It's interesting, the reduction is often seen better in women than men, but that's not true of all the studies, but it tends to be more consistent in women. But it's kind of amazing. So again, these inflammatory responses might have something to do with not only just aging, but dementia. There was one study that was in Nature Communications that looked at the zoster vaccine, shingles vaccine again, and it was a retrospective cohort study in Kaiser Permanente in their data set, and it showed that vaccination with 2 doses of this vaccine was associated with a 51% lower risk of dementia. So, I mean, this is a very consistent finding now. There have been more and more studies. I mentioned it last year, just in one study. Now 6 studies that show shingles vaccine not only it helps it helps prevent dementia, it slows dementia, and it may have an impact on aging as well. So another reason to get your shingles vaccine. Okay, so my sister's a mad coffee drinker. If you don't have caffeinated coffee in the house, she goes crazy. Well, she gets a headache, then she goes crazy. So her question was, is there any benefit to having caffeinated coffee? Because she thinks that's a reason not to drink decaf. Well, Janet, finally, there's a study. It was a prospective cohort study of 131,000 individuals who were studied for 43 years and showed that higher caffeinated coffee intake was significantly associated with lower risk of dementia. So there you go. Keep drinking your coffee. Don't let anybody give you decaf. All right. Really interesting study that was published, I have to say, at my wife's institution, Duke. They looked at a bunch of people who received a dendritic cell. The dendritic cells are really good at facilitating immune responses. And the dendritic cell vaccine with patients who had breast cancer. And this was a human epidermal growth factor receptor 2, commonly known as HER2. And what they showed was even 20 years, in survivors, 20 years later, they had very specific immune CD4 and CD8 cells. So that was a really interesting study because it shows that vaccination 20 years ago still has an immune memory for those tumor cells, and that's probably why they're long-term survivors. So it's actually a really interesting study. It was published in a really good place too, Immunology, Journal of Immunology. All right, now I got some goofy things. People ask goofy things. This was a study that somebody said, did you see this study on a monkey, it's a bonobos ape, who could actually make believe? So it was, could they make believe with a tea party or identifying, like in this case, juices or it was, I think, grapes. So I watched it. I went and looked at it. I absolutely could not figure out what that monkey was doing. So apparently it showed that they were able to pick out imaginary, if they pretended to pour something in, the monkey pointed to the empty glass. I don't know. That one is beyond me. So whoever asked, I don't have a good answer to that one. I'm not sure apes can do make-believe, but the paper says they can. All right, then, this is in the New York Times. Why do dogs have long ears? I mean, don't make this up. 3,000 dogs, wolves, and coyotes were sequenced, and what they found was there is a gene near MSRB3, the methionine sulfoxide reductase gene. It's a very important gene for controlling oxidative damage. It turns out alleles on that gene determine whether or not you have a dropped ear or a perky ear, like a husky versus a cocker spaniel. It's interesting that mutations in humans in that gene are associated with deafness. So a gene that in dogs determines whether ears are up or down, in humans, it can cause deafness. Okay. Why do dogs have short legs? Somebody asked me that. I got a whole thing on dogs. Why do dogs have short legs? Well, I've reviewed this once before, but I'm going to remind everyone. The short leg breeds like poor Lily, Dachshunds, Corgis, Basset Hounds, and Skye Terriers have an extra copy of the FGF4 gene, which is fibroblast growth factor. And that gene is very important for when growth plates close. Having an extra copy makes them close faster, and so before the legs develop longer, the growth plate closes, and you have short-legged dogs. And all the short-legged dogs have that gene, or that genetic add-on. So why, you might ask? Because breeders want to have short-legged dogs, so they keep it going. Probably would have been selected out if you had a long-legged dog running for a piece of meat versus one of these guys, Look, not only short legs, short attention span too. Should sound asleep. Okay, that was an interesting one. I always like to look at why dachshunds have short legs. So this is a question that was published in Science. When were domestic cats introduced into Europe? And, you know, people thought that they were introduced long ago, 12,000 years. So cat lovers all go, oh, very old breed. They've been domesticated with for 12,000 years. Well, this study did a bunch of sequencing on old cats and found out that it looks like it's more like 2,000. So they're just recent add-ons. Nobody cares about cats. They just added them in, and cat owners are pretending that they're very important because they've been around 12,000 years, but probably not 2,000 years. Okay. So I got one question, which is really great. What are those mascots at the Winter Olympics? I had no idea. I mean, I couldn't figure out what they were. They looked like squirrels to me. But it turns out they are stoats. Now here's a stoat? I've never heard of a stoat. So this is an actual stoat, and this is the white and brown stoat. Their names are, let me see here, I got it down here. Milo, no, wait a minute. Yeah, the younger brother Milo is dark fur, and it seems like discriminatory, but that's the Paralympic Games, and the white one, Tina. Tina, because it's Cortina. Named Tina, and Milo because it's Milano. I don't know. You know, I love the Italians, but stick to food. This is terrible. And then finally, of course, I want to just say, what a riveting Olympics this has been. I was watching the mixed curling. I could barely take my eyes off of it. It was the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. But we won a silver, so congratulations. All right. So I want to end today with a bunch of shout-outs. First of all, congratulations to Gurpreet Kaur, who is a Baylor graduate in the lab of Dr. Mary Estes. They have been able, and it's just reported in Science News, they've been able to grow norovirus. You know, norovirus is that terrible virus on ships that gives everyone GI distress. It's also been around in the country a lot. Very few advances because you can't grow norovirus, and if you can't grow it, you can't find out things that will inhibit it, like antivirals or create vaccines. The lab of Mary Estes and her graduate student have been able to grow norovirus. So that's a big breakthrough. I expect in the next several years we will see vaccines, which would be really great. I might even get on a ship then, because I'm not going on a ship as long as there's norovirus around. Okay, and then congratulations to Dr. Shinya Yamamoto, professor of molecular and human genetics, who was recognized as a 2025 Nice Step researcher by Japan's National Institute of Science and Technology. That selection honors 10 researchers made significant, influential, innovative contributions to science and technology, and Dr. Yamamoto is the only U.S.-based researcher that was selected this year. So congratulations, Dr. Yamamoto. And then, of course, congratulations to Jose Negrete, Senior Clinical Operations Associate, who was elected President-elect of the National Association of Latino Healthcare Executives and its Greater Houston chapter. Congratulations. We're very happy that the local chapter covers a diverse area from the Gulf Coast all the way from the Greater Houston area to the northern Rio Grande Valley. So congratulations, Dr. Negrete. Anyway, that's it for our Q&A for the week. Have a wonderful weekend. I can't wait to see you next week.
Billy looks like Shrek.
This is the most ridiculous household.